now the next functionality is that we need to give an option in customizer to give admin an ability to add their social icons, right? So what we're gonna do is 8020 WP admin root yeah. So down at the bottom we want the ability to add social icons. Now let's look at the design first. Where exactly we need to add the social icons? So not here. Facebook, Twitter, can you see? Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. What is B? Oh, we're not going to do Behance. It's not popular. Yeah? Okay, I didn't know that. Nice. So what we're going to do is create an option in the customizer for the user to add those, because those need to be dynamic, right? They can change. So what I'm going to do is, one second. Class data boxes, assets. Where have I added option for customizer? Yeah, I know where it is. Should be in headless CMS. Go to classes, customizer. Yep, that's the one. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and go to our theme. Go to project Ollies, and then any functionality related stuff goes in the functions.php, and it's a functionality that we are building. So rather than making our functions.php dirty, first I'm going to clean this up because we don't need all this thing. We'll keep these functionalities separately in separate files. First of all, let me align it properly. Now you can see it's aligned properly. Okay, so I'm going to create a file. I'm going to name it as customizer.php, and I'm going to include this file into functions.php because it's related to the functionality. So include once, includes customizer.php. That's it, it's included. Next thing we'll do is, in order for us to register any of the fields in customizer, we need to call this function called add action. So we need to hook it to the customized register. You must have observed that everywhere we are using the add action. So add action is like a hook. So in WordPress, it runs different functions. But sometimes if you want to hook at specific point and update the functionality or add the functionality, you hook into that particular point. So think of this kind of an event. So whenever a customized register hook is called, or that point in WordPress, you can register your own fields also. So let's name, the second parameter is your function name. So let's name it as Ollies underscore customize register, and this is the function you're going to create. Really? Very good. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so happy you are. Okay. So customize, this is the function basically, and in this function we are going to register these social icons. Okay. And this, where is the function for social? And it's going to accept this variable also. So you can pass a parameter actually over here. This is, I think, the class name, and this is the variable that's available to access. You don't have to create because it's already available as a part of this hook. So you can use this. Yeah. So you need to, so what am I doing in this function? Yeah, I'm just going to copy this. Okay. copy. Okay. So what are the social icons you want to register? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Why I'm using a loop here, because tomorrow if they want to include more, all I have to do is just pass it a comma, it's going to loop through and register all of them. That's why I'm using an array. So let's go with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Then this is going to call a function. The WP customize is a variable that's available. It's actually the class, I think. Yeah, see, it's a class, right? This class has different functions. This is the WordPress class, by the way. See, it's available inside of WP include. So we never touch this file, but we can use its classes. So this is actually a class. Okay, WP customize manager. So this class has certain functions. For example, add section. So if you search, see, there is an add function. What we are doing is we have this class variable available. So it's an object basically, and we can call the function of that class using arrow sign. So this class, which is WP customizer, so big C, WP customizer, it's available as an object inside of WP customize, and then if you want to call that function, you can do arrow and then call that function. Okay, so if you take a look, what does it accept? It accepts an ID arguments. What is this ID? All information is present here. So ID is description, is customized section object. So you pass the ID. So I can name the ID as, let's say, Oli's social links. You keep whatever you want. Then what will be the title? So title will be social links. What will be the domain? Domain, you already aware that where you get the domain from. You get it from the style.css, which is, yeah, that's correct. So I'm just going to paste that here in the text domain. It's for used for translation. This double underscore basically is for translation, so that if you use any translation plugins, then you know, these can be converted into different languages. And in future, WordPress is going to inbuild those translation features. There's a work going on in WordPress core for translation, so it can be available in different languages. So it takes two parameters. First is the ID, and second is the title and description of that section we want to build. So what is section we want to build? So if you go back and check, yeah, so this is the section. So where does that title go? It goes here, social links. Okay, what is the description? Again, so this is the title, this is the description. It goes here. Now we're just looping through this array, and then every time you're looping through this, we're going to get the value, which is the item inside of the array. So first time the value will be Facebook. So what are we going to do now? We're going to create a setting ID. So let's name these as Oli's. And there's a function called sprintf. I could have simply done something like this. So I'm just giving you an example. I could have done something like Oli's, then underscore dot, and then social icon dot underscore link. What will this do? You know, we've talked about the concatenation operator, right? Which means going to take this, whatever the value of this, going to join that, and then it's going to join this. So it becomes, so for example, social icon is Facebook, it becomes Oli's underscore Facebook underscore link. But see how untidy this looks. When we have multiple, so right now it's one, but it could have multiple things we want to join. So it becomes very untidy if it keeps going long. Like if you keep adding stuff here. That's why this function does the same thing. It says that whatever the percentage s is, replace that with the value. So the new thing result is going to return will be Oli's underscore is going to replace this percentage s with this, and then underscore link. So basically it's going to do the same thing that this is doing, but this printf is more cleaner. Then we call the add setting function. So like we called the add section, whose job was to create the section, which is this section. Now we have to add those settings. So there's another function in this class, which is a WordPress class. If you search, you will get add setting, right? So what does this all take? It takes different stuff. So if you go back in here, it takes setting ID, We pass this, we created this our own ID. This is our custom one. Okay, you can name it whatever you want, but it has to be semantic and it's related to Ollie's. The first time it loops through, it will be Ollie's underscore Facebook underscore link. That will be the setting ID. Second time it loops through, it will be Ollie's underscore Twitter underscore link, because that's the value we are getting inside of it, and so on and so forth. So that way different IDs will be created, different sections will be created using this. You can pass some default options, capabilities, who can make any changes. So in WordPress we have roles available like editor, author, administrator. Administrator have all the superpowers. Author has limited capabilities. He can only edit things but not really do much. Okay, so anyone who can edit theme options is someone who can edit this from the backend. So we are adding a capability here. What is a sanitize callback? We are using escape URL function, which you're already aware about. It's a WordPress function. So we're specifying which function to use. So when the user enters this information, we can't trust the user if they enter something insecure. So that's why we're using this function to sanitize that whatever value is going to remove anything that is not necessary. Then the last one is add control. So this is going to add the control over here for this. Okay, and again we are passing the label. So what will be the label? The first time it will be Facebook. So remember, we are looping through, so every time we'll have different value: Facebook, then Twitter, then Instagram. First time when you have Twitter, the label is Facebook. Okay, then section name, we're just keeping the same section name for all of them because it's the same section. We're passing the setting ID. Setting ID will be different each time. Ollie's underscore Facebook underscore link, then Ollie's underscore Twitter underscore link, depending on how many things you pass in this social icon. If we were to create only one field here, one input field here, Facebook, then we didn't have to use this loop. But because we are creating multiple, that's why we're using this loop. And the last thing is, what is the type? Is it a text? Is it a password, or what is it actually? What type of input field you want to create? So it's a text. They want to enter the text over there. That's why we're doing that. And I think that's it. That's all you have to do. So now if I go back and check to your backend, and if I go to customize, congratulations. Did you see what just happened? It created that. If I comment this out, if I comment out this piece of code, see, it's gone, right? So this whole thing has gone ahead and created social links. So now editors can go and type their Facebook link over there. Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, so I put Instagram, and then I can put YouTube also. So I put all the links here, and this makes it really super powerful, because then they can change it if they decide, if somebody else wants to use this site. Because think about it, you're developing a theme for someone else, right? You want to hard code them. They should have the ability, if they're using it for themselves. Imagine that your theme is being used by multiple people. That's what happens, right? When you installed and activated that theme, did they lock you that you can only use our social links, you can't put yours? Imagine there are 10,000 people you're using a theme. Everyone will have different Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, right? They won't have the same one. So that's why we are making it dynamic. So we have done like 70% of the work, which is we created this functionality in backend by using the WordPress class, which was GWP customized, and hooking our own custom function to this hook. All we have to do is just display it. So where do we actually want it? So you need to ask that question every time, to your cell. Where do you want it? You want it at the bottom here. Currently it is static. We have to make it dynamic. So where is this section? Let's find out. So go to footer, template parts. Yep, sorry. Yep, so that's the place we need to do it. So how do I get that value? So let's see. To get that value, get the hold on. Schema, header, footer. Yeah, you can. You can. No, we created an that is okay. Site URL and something needed for exactly. So they will go to the link they entered in the backend, right? So they entered some information in the backend, the URL. So we need to display that URL. We need to replace the custom sorry hashes with those URLs. So how do we do that? Which is these values. Sorry. Yeah. So let's see what we get in that. Get site home URL. You mean site? This one? Then what do I do? Yeah. This you mean? So see what you're getting here. Which one is the Facebook, right? So it's giving me customized change set. Sorry? Yeah, but remember this site URL is going to give you your own website URL. We don't want that. We want this third party URL. We don't want him to go to our site. We want him to go to a third party site, correct? Facebook is not here. Exactly. So we are not supposed to use this site URL. Site URL will be for something like home page, like where you add the logo, or maybe your main text where it says Ollie's. That's where you'll use it. But here this Facebook is a third party link. It's not a link on our site. That's why we won't use the get site URL. All we have to do is get the value of what they've entered here. So the way to do it is, first of all, you create this over here. One second. Let me pull this inside of a separate template. So we'll name the template as social links, and I'm going to pull it. Sorry? Yes, because style is being applied throughout the site. So yes, it will work. And I'm going to just include that. So template parts / social links, but not PHP. I'm replacing it because there are some code I want to write, and then I don't want to make this dirty because it's anyways a lot of stuff going on. I want to keep things small as possible so I can focus on that part. So now I have this isolated here so I can work. So there are a few things you need to do. First, you need to create an empty array. Let's do that. Then you need to get all of the name. Why I'm getting name? Because remember that the value will be different each time for those IDs that we created, right? So what were those IDs? So let's take a look. This was the ID, correct? So I'm gonna do setting ID. Okay, and the main setting ID was social icon name. Okay, I have to loop through actually first. So for each social icon name as for each is basically to loop through an array. Okay, so social icon, you can name it whatever you want, and then setting ID, so every time it's going to be different, so it will be social icon name. What this is going to do is again same thing, going to loop through this. First time is going to replace this S value with Facebook, so this will become something like so what it will return is Facebook, like this. Why? Because replacing those, right? Second time is going to become Twitter. Yes, yes. It's called percentage S. S is for string. If this was a number, then you'll use something like D, if I'm not wrong. So it tells you what type it is. So this is anyways a string. It's not a number, right? That's why I'll use $S. So that's how it's going to print it every time with a different value. So we'll get the setting ID. Then we need to get the social link value. Okay. So social link, there is a function in WordPress called getThemeMod, and the job of this is to get the value what you registered here in the customizer. So all it needs you to pass is the ID, the setting ID. So you already have got a setting ID here that you have created on top, so you can just pass it. See, get theme mod name, right? Name, the theme modification name. So in our case is this. Okay, now if you just print it and see what you get. Echo social link and echo br tag. See, I just want to show you what it's printing. Can you see? This is what we want, right? So what did we just do? We basically called this function, and the job of this function is to get me the values what users entered here. Now there are multiple values. I want to get them, each one of them. So how do I get it? There has to be a key which we can use, right? So it's called setting ID. So what is a setting ID? Setting ID is the same that we registered for each one of these icons. So in customizer.php we registered this, right? And this is the name we gave. So for Facebook we gave it Ollie's underscore Facebook underscore link. For Twitter we gave Ollie's underscore Twitter underscore link, right? So that's what we are using. So this function is going to get us those links, but you have to pass the ID, right? So because we are looping through, every time we will get a different ID, and every time it's going to print a different value. And that's why if you notice that it's printing each one of those, because it's getting all of those IDs. If I just hard code this value like this, it's only going to give me Facebook. See? But why is it giving me 4 times? It's because I'm looping through 4 times, because there are 4 items in the array. Clear? So making it dynamic is allowing me to take advantage of getting dynamic values rather than hard coding it. So now it's different. Okay. So if you got those 4 links, what we want to do is basically create an use those values. Okay. But we want an array to loop through, right? Currently we don't have an array. These are like just strings that are being returned. But what we could do is we could create an array like this and just push these items inside of it. So in PHP, there's a function available called array push. Okay. So, but first we need to check if the social link exists or not. I don't want to push something if it doesn't exist. So I'll check if social link exists, then call the function called array push. So array push, the job of is to take the array, whichever array you are. So currently it's an empty array. Push this associative array. We've already spoken about associative array, like there is key value pair. Key should be icon name and the value should be whatever the icon name is and then icon URL. Okay. So actually we don't need the icon name, do we? Icon name was probably needed when they would have asked us to do an icon here. There isn't any icon here, right? It's just text. So we don't need the icon name in our case. All we need is just the URL. So all we can do is just push the URL and do nothing else. So it's in fact, I was thinking there's not even a need to push it into an array because there's no need. Sorry, in my case it was needed because I had the icon like Twitter icon, Facebook icon to show. That's why I had to create it. But in your case, it just text, so we don't really need to do that, right? Oh, hold on, we do. We do actually because it's FBTW. How am I going to know what is the name? Yeah, we need it. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so icon name and the icon link. Okay, so in our case, I think it will be the text will be different each time, and it's going to be FB and TW. It's not going to be Facebook and all of that stuff. So we need to create another way to do that. What we can do is social icon, no, social link name map equals create an array. If it's a Facebook, it should be called FB, right? Small letter. If it's a Twitter, TW, and if it's a LinkedIn, oh, there is no LinkedIn. We build Instagram. It's fine. I mean, it's fine. Instagram, IS, YouTube. Let's go with YT. We can change it if client doesn't want us later on, but for now, let's just keep it YT and let's just align it properly. And now we have to change this a little bit. Rather than creating two different arrays, we can create one and then loop through this array instead. Social links name map, social links name. Okay, and this is going to be key value pairs, right? So you can do, when you are looping through associative array like this, then you can do key value pair. So icon name, this will be icon, or social link name. What should be this called? Social link name, right? Social link name, and then arrow sign, social link value, name value. So what will happen is the first time it loops through is going to give you this as this, this as this. So what do we need here? We need this over here because in the backend we are using Facebook. So we are getting this value inside of this variable every time it's looping. So we'll pass it here like this. Okay. Now when we are creating this, actually we're gonna do icon name or social link name and social link URL. Yeah. So what will be the social link name? The name, where is the name? So name is this, right? So we're going to pass that here. What is the value of the URL? We are getting the URL from this, so that's why we passed it here. Okay. So now once that is done, if you now check, if you console out, oops, print r echo pre-tag, and if we refresh, you can see we have got an array. Each array will has what will be the name and what will be the link URL. You see how we organize things better, right? Now because I've got an array exactly the way I want to use it here, I basically need two things. I need the URL, I need the name. Do I have that? Yes, I do. I have the name, I have the URL. All I have to do is just loop through this array that we have created, which is social icons array, and then print this dynamically. So all I'm going to do is do an I was thinking that do we need to even loop it multiple times, because we're already looping it once here. What do you think? I don't think we should loop it multiple times, right? No, I'm saying that I'm trying to make this code as small as possible. What I could do is, because I have this array, I could simply loop through it here and get my things done. But I'm saying that we're already looping it once, so there's no need to loop it twice. If we can, make it this in a way that is not needed to loop, I think that'll be better. So let's remove this. And what I'm going to do is basically yeah, let's do this. Let's do a PHP closing, PHP open, and then I'm going to do if. The only issue with this is that if I don't create an array, and if there are no items in the array, then it's going to show empty items actually. Just 1 second, let me think. Yeah. Nope. What we thought was right. Whatever we were doing is correct. Okay, so you got this for so far, right? You've got this array now, yeah? All I'm going to do now is over here, I'll check if not is empty, not empty, if it's not empty, and if it's an array, then go ahead and put this nav okay, and then inside of this do a for each loop. For each loop is to loop through the array. I don't want to loop through an array if there are no items in the array, right? Social links as should be called social icon. It's social icons actually, sorry, my bad. Social icons as, it's not even social icon, it's social links. Social link, and then all I have to do is just put that. I mean, I can do a sprintf over here, can't I? Printf, I can do a, Sprintf will return the value. It will not print it. Printf is going to echo it out. What did we have? href equals. So see, I'm going to tell you how you can make this code cleaner. If I don't use printf, which means I have to open, close, all of that to write HTML, right? But if I want to do it in PHP, I can use printf and I can replace this value like percentage $1 and then this will be percentage $2 and then a comma, what is the value is going to take? It's going to take social link. Now where is that value? That value is social link URL. Sorry, first is what? First is URL. So social link URL, comma, second part is what? Second part is social link name. So what will this do? It's going to print this link, right? It's going to say take this first. Why not percentages? Is because now there are two variables it needs to replace. So how does it know at what position you want to insert what? So it's saying at the first position insert this dynamic value of social link URL, which is this. At the second position, which is like inside of this a tag, which is this, replace it with the name, which is fp. Okay, so I'm hoping it will work. Let's see. Okay, and now if you inspect element, how do you know it worked? See, I could have made it like more easy, but I want you to progress gradually of seeing things, how to improvise and how to make it better. Now the question comes to your mind, why did I loop it twice? I already have a loop available. I have the social link, I have the name, so why am I looping it twice? Why am I pushing it to an array? The reason for this is because what if they don't enter anything here, right? If they don't enter anything, I don't want to show this div, right? I don't want to show this nav element if they haven't entered. Unnecessarily, why to add this extra, correct? If I go with just one loop option, then it's going to loop always, because I'm saying loop through this array, and this array always going to have some data into it, which means irrespective of what they add, it's still going to get looped, right? So which means we'll have like an empty nav container with nothing inside of it, and that's not good. So that's why what I did was we looped through the first array, and whenever we were checking if social link exists, if it exists, only then push it into this array, which means if it never existed, which means if they never entered anything in any of these fields, this array is going to be empty, because it won't push anything inside of it because it didn't exist. And because this array will be empty, and at the bottom we are checking, is this not empty, and is this an array, only then show this content. So this will not pass, this will not get printed, because if the array was empty, which means if they don't enter anything, the code will not print this, because it's checking here, is this empty? So this will always be empty because we didn't push anything over here, because there was nothing that user had entered. Are you getting what we are doing here? Awesome. So that's that then. So you learned today how to create options in customizer. These are the options that WordPress created. See this site title and all that stuff. If you want to, sorry, yeah, I could have made it more simpler for you, but like I said, I want you to progress gradually. You need to come out of your comfort zone, only then you can do better. Okay, cool, perfect. Do you have any questions on this? Okay, hold on, let me push this code.